My father lived at Whananaki when he was a child. His father died when he was 12 of the flu in 1918, and Dad did shift around a little bit and stayed with other relatives. But in 1939, he decided he'd come back and farm the ancestral land of his father. At that point of time, he realised he only had 3 acres left from what had been a vast estate owned by his grandfather. But he set to work, working really hard, working with my mother helping him to milk the cows and do the farming, and he did a second job working for the county council on the roads. And as the family grew in size, he must have thought it was too difficult for him to make the money he needed to give them some advantages in life. So he went to work for the Portland Cement Works. And when he was there, he actually got some cement into his eyes and he had to stop work. I remember his eyes were very, very bloodshot and they were painful for him. And one day I went into his bedroom. I was only small, about 5 or 6, and I went into his bedroom and I noticed that he was just lying there, but tears, he wasn't saying anything, but tears were coming out of his eyes. And my mother came in and she saw him and she said, "What's wrong, Len?" And he said he feared that the children would suffer from him having this problem where he couldn't work. At the time I was very young. I didn't understand a lot of the background to his turmoil. Later on, when I became an adult, I read how there'd been an epidemic of smallpox in his community when he was about 6 or 7, and people had died, and then many had died in that flu. And I suppose from his observations he'd seen how children who didn't have parents and that had such a hard struggle. What concerned me later was that while I remembered that he'd just come home to 3 acres of land and had to go out and talk to a whole lot of relatives to get a bigger land base for him to farm, it concerned me when I realised that his grandfather had actually been the owner of a 7,000 acre block, which the Auckland Provincial Council had decided under the Wastelands Act should have been surveyed and sold off to them. I worried then about the unfairness of settlers who came here demanding large areas of land for them, and being quite willing to take it off Māori families who had a lot of children and had a future in this country as well. A future more important than those of the settlers, because this was their country.